Local programming on KRWG made possible in part by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to Your Legislators, a production of KRWG Broadcasting. Your Legislators is a public service program providing our viewing audience in southern New Mexico the opportunity to hear about important legislative issues directly from their elected representatives in Santa Fe. Here's your host, Sloan Patton.
Thanks for being with us. On the show today, Mark D'Antonio. He's the district attorney for the 3rd Judicial District that covers Doña Ana County. Mr. D'Antonio, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Sure. And so the first thing I'd love to touch on is something that's going to be new, and it's the town hall meetings that you're planning on having coming up.
We are extremely excited about that. It's an opportunity. We're going to meet the first Thursday of every month right here in Las Cruces, as well as other places throughout the county, Sunland Park, Hatch, for example. Now, these meetings are as part of a strategic alliance to get the community involved with the DA's office and basically helping each person help protect their community. The meetings will be an hour long from 12 to 1, and I encourage everybody who has any concern or solution to any situations going on legally or law enforcement oriented to come out and talk with us. My staff and I will be there to answer any and all questions about policies, about issues. If some people have some new ideas that can help us, we'll implement those ideas. We're open to suggestions because the DA cannot work in isolation. So we're looking forward to this as part of a broad approach, part of an openness, to be transparent, and to let the community decide what's good for our people as far as law enforcement and safety of the community.
Mm-hmm. Now, it was just about 3 months ago today that you were in the process of being elected to this position. What is it meant for you? What was the process, the road like getting to being the district attorney?
It was a difficult road. Me and my former opponent had different philosophies on how justice should be handled in Doña Ana County. The voters of Doña Ana County have opted for a situation or administration that looks to balance the scales of justice on both equations, both protecting the victims at all costs, but also respecting the rights of the accused and defendant. So there's an equal balance. That's the role of the DA since time immemorial, since our form of justice has been part of this great United States. It's always been assumed that the DA or any prosecutor who has tremendous power balance that power between those two equations, one, the victim on one side, and the defendant's rights on the other. But in doing so, I'll tell you that we really need the help of the community, and I have reached out to every facet. Of course, one of the most important components is law enforcement. Just recently, I went to every shift of the Las Cruces Police Department at 6 o'clock, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, at 9 o'clock at night, to talk to those folks who are on the front line protecting us, to let them know that I feel that we're a service organization, that we service them, they do the hard stuff, and we compliment them and support them everywhere we can. And by that same token, whether you're a school teacher, a doctor, a nurse, a farmer, a construction worker, you're part of the team. We value your input, and we're here to serve.
Mm-hmm. I've heard from some people that are policemen, even ones that are friends of mine, that a lot of times you have sort of two types of cops, so to speak. The ones that want to protect, that want to serve, that have the public's best interest in mind, and then you have some men or women who became cops because they just wanted to arrest people, or they wanted to kind of have a legal way to gang up on people. Do you think that that's ever been true in cities across the country?
I've been in law enforcement 25 years, you know, and I've been an FBI agent, and I've worked around law enforcement ever since the military. Yeah. And I will tell you, there's a very small percentage of individuals who join police forces for the power or for the prestige. However, I'm very happy to report that based on my experience and relationship with the current police officers here, that is a very small fraction. The vast vast majority of police officers, both sheriffs and otherwise, LCPD, state troopers who work in and around Diana County, are the most dedicated, the most honest and ethical people, and they're there to serve, and I know that firsthand. That's why it's very important that our office service those good officers who risk their lives, put their lives on the line for us. I have a family here, you have a family here. I support our police officers 100% and will do whatever it takes to make their job easier.
Yeah. I know it has to be a hard thing to try to sort out or weed out some of the people who may just be in it for the power. It has to be terribly difficult.
Well, I have, you know, good point, and I accept that, and it's true, but I have great respect and admiration and confidence in our police chief and in our sheriff and our personnel who run the state troopers here in our area, that they will do what's necessary to weed their own and take care of it. So when the police officers come to testify in my courtroom, I am fully confident that they're honest and they testify true and what they do is right.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the biggest issues that we face here in Diana County that are unique to us?
Well, of course, we're a border state, and whenever you deal with issues on the border, it makes it unique as far as law enforcement. Now, we all know the situation of going in Juarez for many, many years. Now, although it seems to be getting a little better, thank God for all those poor people who have been the victim of horrible crimes, that sometimes tends to come north. And we have to be ever vigilant. Now, along with that comes gangs that originate in Mexico and are affiliated here, and they grow in prison. So a gang response and a plan to handle gangs and prevent young people from joining gangs is one of our main proactive missions. In addition, the fact that we border with Texas means that there are individuals in New Mexico who are coming into Texas and committing crimes and then fleeing back to New Mexico to avoid prosecution. Vice versa, there are individuals in Texas that are committing crimes in New Mexico and then fleeing back to Texas. I have working very closely now with Mr. Jaime Esparza, who is the DA in El Paso, to work on a plan with his police officers and our police officers to try to prevent that through extradition, so a criminal has no refuge. If you're going to commit crimes in New Mexico or Texas, no matter where you live, we're having a strategic joint effort to prevent that from happening. So those are the unique issues on the border that we're dealing with.
Mm-hmm. The gang problem, of course, is a problem in cities all across the country as
True.
well. What are the biggest things that can be done to combat that issue?
In gangs, just like other areas of law enforcement, proactive involvement with the police is the key element. Now, what does that mean? And I've said that many times. People ask me, what do you mean by proactive? It's very simple. When somebody commits a crime and you arrest them, that's reactive. And that's all well and good. If somebody robs a bank and the police will go and they catch the guy, you know, and they put him in jail, that's proper police work, and that's called reactive. They're reacting to something that's already happened. Mm-hmm. Proactive is we make a plan, a strategic plan to prevent crime before it happens. Now, for instance, by getting gang members who are looking for some sort of unity, some sort of way to vent their frustrations, if you put programs into place with the police and the community, all facets of the community, will reach young people at an early age and give them alternatives to gangs, show them where gang life leads. A gang life leads you to prison, leads you to poverty, leads you to be, violence against your own family members. If you can instill some sort of confidence and family unity in that before it happens, you have a good chance to stop, or at least slow down gang violence. Let me give you an example. We have a very strong program in the DA's office about truancy. Studies show us that truancy leads to gangs. It's just the way it is. People who skip school or to try to avoid going to school have a much greater chance of becoming gang members early in their life. By making sure we have a strong truancy program, and we have a program in the DA's office, actually, we have a little schoolroom in the DA's office, and we take high-risk kids that may become gang members, and we show them, here's what school is all about. Here's the beauty and wonder of education. That's just one method we can use to proactively prevent gangs from forming. Now, is it 100% successful? Of course not. But the sooner we get involved with social workers, teachers, hospitals, community leaders, legislators, all working together to protect our children, ultimately want to slow down the gang problem and then make Doñana County a safer place.
Mm-hmm. I read a recent interview about, and you talked about your upbringing and how that sort of had changed from the beginning towards the end of I guess high school and college years, and how that really shaped who you've become. Could you explain that a little bit?
Sure, I'd be happy to, and it's exactly accurate. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, in a very poor section of Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. And we didn't know we were poor when we were growing up. Everybody was similarly situated. And about the time I was 14 or 15, my mom was concerned, although I was a pretty good kid, you know what I mean? Never got into any real trouble. My friends I associated with were, starting to adventure into the criminal side of life, as poverty sometimes drives people to do things they wouldn't normally do, and I understand that. But at great sacrifice to herself, since we didn't have a dad at home, I kind of was the man of the house. I was the oldest and had 3 brothers and sisters. My mom sent me to Maryland to live for a while with my aunt and uncle. My uncle was an Air Force colonel. My aunt Margie was a homemaker. When I was among people who had school as a key part of their life, they had goals to go to college, they had goals to make careers, that changed my life. And so I realized that being exposed to the possibilities of what is out there motivates people to do what's right and to earn respect and money legitimately. So I want to give the same opportunity to the folks who may be impoverished or be part of gangs or committing crimes because really they think there's no choice. And I want to tell the people of Doñana County that there is a choice and that all the community, including the DA's office, wants to expose them to those good opportunities. And I think the good citizens of our county want to do that. And so many people come to me and say, how can I help? And one way they can help is by helping me save our children, get them on the right path, and ultimately not only help our children, but reduce crime in the process.
Mm-hmm. What do you want to say to some of the attorneys that work in the county? What would you want them to know about the district attorney's office and dealing with you?
Well, if you're talking specifically with the defense bar, I have a reputation already. As you know, I was with the U.S. Attorney's Office as a prosecutor for 11 years. The same reputation that I had there is going to continue here. Basically, defense bar is going to be treated fairly and courteously at all times. And we will work with them every chance we get. We will give them the information they need to do their job. However, my job as a district attorney of Doñana County and the job of my lawyers is to do justice. And sometimes doing justice means taking people, prosecuting them, and sending them to jail, or recommending they go to the judge, they go to jail for a very long time. That's my job. Now, I will do that respectfully. I will do that within the realm of the law. And when people need breaks or a second chance, we will consider that. But mainly my job is to enforce the laws of Doñana County to make it a safer place. And I think the defense bar respects that. The issue we talk about is, in order for a defense attorney to do his or her job, they need the information that is in the hands of the police. That's called discovery. I'm talking about police reports and videotapes of arrests. I've made a promise to the defense bar to get that early so they can make an early decision on what they need to do. But they also know that we're going to use every resource we have and zealously represent the people of Doñana County as prosecutors to make sure that we do what's right as well. So that's the nature of our justice system. It's an adversarial system by very design, and we are fully equipped and prepared to meet them at trial or at every stage of the prosecution and do our job zealously. And a mutual respect is good, but if they don't respect us, then that's bad on them. And I will say this, that I have a team of lawyers that is second to none. Don't hold a second chair to anybody in the U.S. Attorney's Office. They're excellent. They're hardworking and they're dedicated. And that's backed up by a tremendous support staff I have at the DA's office. I have men and women, secretaries, paralegals, victim witnesses that are just so hardworking and so dedicated to doing what's right that I'm very confident that we're going to do a great job.
Mm-hmm. How were you able to find all the attorneys that you wanted?
Well, I inherited, when I took the office, about 12 to 14 excellent attorneys. I was extremely satisfied after talking to them for the first time. Not only are they good legal technicians and good prosecutors, but they're good, honest, moral people. You cannot be a prosecutor unless you have a good moral compass, because prosecutors are very powerful people, and with great power comes great responsibility. So these people not only have the legal talent, but they have the moral talent to do their job. The past 30, 45 days, whatever it's been since I took office, I have been in the process of interviewing very competent attorneys, some very experienced, some very new. And it's a combination of the new talent and old talent and the more experienced talent that's going to help us. I've hired, I believe, 3 individuals and with 2 more in the pipeline, very competent individuals.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds like in that way, I mean, you almost function like a coach, like a basketball coach or a football coach, sort of getting the team together with, more experienced people, less experienced people.
That is exactly, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly right. Mm-hmm. I set the policy and direction of the office, but I must rely, like any coach does, once your team goes on the field, I can't throw the football. I can't catch the football as a football coach. Mm-hmm. So I can give them general direction. So I have the confidence in my people, both lawyers and staff, that once I set direction of how I want things to work, let's call it a play, mm-hmm. that they'll execute that play to the fullest of the building. And if they don't, it's my job after the play is over to criticize, make corrections, make attaboys, show my approval on certain things, and then send them back out for the next play. And so far, things have been working fairly well. Now, have there been glitches? Absolutely. We're looking at caseloads, a tremendous caseload. We're looking at a backlog of cases that some cases are 5 and 6 years old. When I took over this job, 10 or 11 of the most senior people chose not to reapply for employment. So those people were in charge of over 1,000 cases. I had to reassign those 1,000 cases to my 14 attorneys that were left. And that was a tremendous burden, and the staff as well. So now we're reassigning all those cases. So instead of having 150 cases, now these guys have 250 cases. But that's temporary, because once the new people come on, we'll distribute the cases more evenly, and we'll endeavor to persevere, which they're doing a very, very good job. Not only in this mix, but also every day new cases come in. So the process never stops. But my staff is doing an excellent job, and I figure in about 6 months we'll be on top of things, and we'll be ready to really be in our prime.
Mm-hmm. I know federally here in town, they see a huge number of immigration cases before the courts. Are there certain types of cases that you see more of than others?
I was part of that process. I've done thousands of immigration cases when I was with the U.S. Attorney's Office. What I see here is there are a lot of violent cases, and especially domestic violence, that we really need to get a handle on. One other thing, talking about it before about gangs, domestic violence is one area where we really can have a proactive kind of, hopefully, preventive law enforcement. Now, proactive and reactive law enforcement go hand in hand. But we have great victim advocates, and we have great organizations. We have La Casa and CASA and all those different agencies, and I've met with them, the heads of those organizations, saying, I need your help to help me be proactive against crimes against women and children. I see too many cases crossing my desk and backlog cases where children and women and other people who are in a weaker position are being exploited and physically hurt. Now, when you're dealing with those kind of cases and you're trying to figure out how can we prevent them from happening, besides also prosecuting the ones that do happen. It's not a perfect system. Sometimes as a prosecutor, I have to make decisions on what cases to take and what cases not to take. Not everybody's going to be happy because there's two sides. There's the victim on one side who's stating his claim, and then you have a defendant on the side who's stating their claim. Sometimes I have to decline cases because I feel that I can't legally prosecute them. I can't prosecute by emotion. I have to prosecute by facts and law. And that bothers some people, and I don't blame them. But I want the people to Doñana County, the citizens, to know that every case that I don't take or take is well vetted, well researched, and well thought out. And if I make a decision in certain cases that the law and the facts just don't allow me to prosecute a case, I hope they'll understand that every case that comes before can't be prosecuted. But we are really serious about prosecuting crimes against women and children. There are way too many cases that come before me. We're also figuring out how can we stop some of those cases from coming in.
Mm-hmm. For people who might be a victim of domestic violence, what kind of evidence should they be trying to collect?
Well, what's important, obviously the obvious things that we all think of, if reporting the crime immediately as soon as it happens goes a long way. Being truthful and discussing what happens with your police victims advocate, and also when it gets prosecuted, our victims advocate. Victim advocates are a crucial part of law enforcement. And when a victims advocate is a person who's your liaison, your representative, your coach, your counselor into the legal system. Now, besides reporting immediately, okay, not letting report every crime. In other words, what happens to some women, unfortunately, is it escalates. First it's verbal abuse, then it's a slap, then it's a punch in the face, then it's something maybe with a weapon. By reporting the crimes early as possible and understand that we'll get you the help you need, even if we can't prosecute the particular case. We'll get you the help you need to resolve the problem, whether it be leaving your household and staying at one of our shelters. We have wonderful shelters for victims of violent crimes and stuff, and victims of abuse, or sitting up with a victim's advocate. We're gonna help you. The DA's office is dedicated to helping, but getting it reported early and when the fraction is minor really would help us to help the people of Doñana County.
Mm-hmm. Going back to the football analogy, are there any rules of the game that you think should change? And I'm thinking specifically about like mandatory sentencing or any types of sentencing that you think should change for certain crimes.
I think that, and I'm working with the legislature right now, as a matter of fact I was in Santa Fe for the last few days, is that making comprehensive laws that affect children. For one example, right now when a child is a victim of a crime in the family relations, we have to charge it as child abuse, which sometimes leaves other options left unaddressed. That kind of puts us into a corner. There's only one way we can charge it. So by working with the legislature, get some fixes of those kind of problems that we see. Also, there is a disparity between attempted murder and murder crimes. There's a disparity of sentencing options that judges have. We're working on to fix those things. We want to have the most serious crimes punished the most severely, and the lesser crimes obviously punished less. But there are some certain instances where there seems to be a lopsided, where a serious crime entitles one to a sentence or mandates a sentence not sufficient enough, and a lesser crime is more. So we're trying to work on that legislative fixes. Also, I'm a big fan in allowing more evidence to come into the courtroom. I think the rules of evidence, although they're based on the federal rules of evidence, sometimes are too restrictive and handcuffs the prosecution in getting certain evidence in. Of course, we'll abide by the rules of evidence, but we'd like to advocate for changes in rules like 404B, which deals with other wrongdoings and other crimes that we'd like to see more expansive.
Yeah. Are there any other changes you'd like to make as far as evidence goes?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head, but there are serious rules changes that probably we should look at, and we will look at. And as a matter of fact, I think that would make a very good topic for the future, where you and I could discuss the current rules and what changes we need to implement. Because I will tell you, the legislature and our Senate are really interested in doing what's right. The committee that handles justice and legal issues, they're really receptive to what we need from the DA's office to do the job of prosecuting people in Diana County. So I'm really happy about that.
Yeah. For the legislators up in Santa Fe, does this part of the state need more funding to be able to prosecute?
Absolutely, no doubt about it. I know most people in my position who direct agencies always ask for more money, but the truth remains that these proactive programs, it's more expensive, for obvious reasons, to be proactive than reactive. If my only job was to get the bad guy after he committed the crime and put him off the street, it'd be fairly inexpensive. But involving the community and being proactive, in other words, we want to be able to use our office as a conduit to give money to other agencies who are helping us prevent law enforcement. So here you go, CASA, LaCasa, you do good work, here's money to help us. And other agencies, here you go, buy computers, buy what you need to do what you do. Help us prevent crime before it happens. And of course, we could always use more lawyers, experienced lawyers. We have a number of murder cases, kidnapping cases that need experienced prosecutors. Right now, we're short. We have some very good prosecutors. We have Cinta Palomino, we have Roxanne Escobar, we have Heather Chavez, we have Pete Pinea, who are very experienced attorneys. We need more, but experienced attorneys are expensive. So we're hoping the legislature gives us as much money we need to do our job most efficiently.
Definitely. Well, I'm sure some of our legislators were watching, so you heard it here. Mr. D'Antonio, thanks again for joining us today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. And with your concurrence, I'd like to meet with you regularly and give the people an update. And I make you a promise that I will look into those evidentiary issues that we think are important for next time.
Sure, we'll have to work it out. Yeah.
Okay.
And thank you for watching. I'm Sloan Patton.